Hello and welcome back to the Italian Book Club. This is Getrude Matshe. Today I am based in Alabama, USA, and I am going to be interviewing an Italian author by the name of Ernesto Sirolli. Ernesto, welcome to the Italian Book Club and thank you so much for this interview.
What a very strange thing to do. It's an Italian book club. You are in Alabama. I'm in California. You from Zimbabwe. Fantastic. So thank you very much for thinking of me, Gertrude. Thank you.
It's an absolute pleasure. I'm really excited to be able to share you with our audience. I'd love us just to talk about your first book.
Yes.
And some of your experiences when you worked in my part of the world, in the Zambezi.
Yeah.
Tell us the title of the book first and what inspired you to write the book.
The title of the book is Ripples from the Zambezi, Passion, Entrepreneurship, and the Rebirth of the Local Economy. And my title was inspired by a story that happened to me when I first, as a very young man, worked in Africa in 71. I was a young volunteer working for an Italian NGO. I was working out of Rome. We did this first project in Zambia, in southern Zambia, and it was an extraordinary experience for me because of the disaster that happened there, and was an absolute unmitigated disaster. Was the story of us Italians convinced that we knew more than the African people about agriculture, and we established a training farm to teach Zambian people how to grow horticulture produce, tomatoes and zucchini, and we had all these beautiful Italian seeds, and we thought we were so smart, and the place was so fertile, and was this beautiful farm by the Zambezi River, and we planted all these tomatoes, and of course as soon as the tomatoes were nice and ripe, the hippos came out of the river and they ate all the tomatoes, and only then we understood that why the Zambian people were laughing at us so much. They laughed at us because we arrived with the arrogance of the white man who was going to teach the local people something, but we knew nothing about the local conditions. And
now,
our project was a total disaster.
I'm going to just stop you there, because the way that I met you was through your TEDx video called "If You Want to Help Someone, Shut Up, Listen."
Shut up.
Yeah, so for all of our listeners, you have got to watch this TED video. Just go online and watch it and learn some of the insights that Ernesto actually got out of that experience. So based on that TED talk, please elaborate what were the learnings for you?
Yeah, what has happened to me was that I thought that first mistake in Africa was really never to be repeated again, that the next time we will never plant a crop by a river full of hippos. But it wasn't the case at all. We discovered that for the next 5 or 6 years in Kenya, in Ivory Coast, in Algeria, in Somalia, we constantly made mistakes. In fact, not only we Italians made mistakes, but in those 5 or 6 years in Africa, I met the French, the English, the Canadians, the Americans, and we were all blundering in Africa. It was not only us Italians. And the reason why we were blundering in Africa was because we never listened, never responded to local people. Our projects were always conceived in our capital cities, and
Yes.
we white people are incredibly arrogant. We are so arrogant that we cannot even see it. Our arrogance is in the marrow of our bones and our culture. We are imperialists, colonialists, and missionaries, and we white people only treat people who are different from us with using two different approaches. Either
Yes.
we patronize them or we are paternalistic. And for the Italian book club, they will appreciate that the two words, patronizing and paternalistic, come from the Latin word pater, which means father,
Yes.
but they have two different meanings. For paternalistic, it means that we treat everybody from another culture, from another ethnicity, as if they were our children. So we go
Yes.
to Africa with this idea that every African person, because they're black, they're good. And so we love them so much, without appreciating that there are good African people, bad African people, people who will kill
Yes.
you, rob you. There is nothing about race that should be make us behave in such a paternalistic way. Now, all
but I guess it goes to the fact that most people do tends to stereotype and make assumptions about people.
Exactly. So we are going to Africa, and even before coming, we have made a decision that all the African people are good people, and we love them so much, and so we treat them like children, And these African
Yes.
people who are wiser than us, older than us, the local chief with 15 wives, 130 children, who has been in 10 horrible wars and terrible, experiences, are patronized by a 20-year-old Italian kid. Doesn't make any sense. He should patronize me. You see what I mean?
I know. So what would be your advice for someone who means well? Because I'm pretty sure when you went out to Africa, you wanted to do some good. What is your advice to anybody who has a good heart, who feels they want to try and make a difference in Africa?
First of all, let me tell you the difference between, so patronizing everybody's like our children, so we treat everybody, with the kind of do-gooder, nonsensical, naive, but also incredibly kind of presumptuous way that, they are like children to us.
Yes.
But the other thing is worse, is that patronizing actually means to treat everybody as they are your subjects, your employees, your inferior. And that's why in Africa, as you well know, in some part of Africa, the white people are called Bwana, and Bwana means boss. How dare 20 years old who has never done anything in his own country gets called boss by hard-working men and women with much more experience and much more everything. Courage, experience. They have been there doing it in a very, very hard way, beautifully forever, and they call me boss. I know nothing. So my point is, we have to stop this presumption of being superior, to be better, to be because we come from a country that we believe has some sort of technological or commercial advantage over the countries that we go and see. What I have been teaching for the last 30 years, since my 6-7 years in Africa, I went to do my PhD first in Africa, then in Australia, and I developed a completely different way of working. You only
now your way of working is extremely unique. I mean, you and I have had some really in-depth conversations around what you're doing now, and what I love about your enterprise facilitation program is that, again, you are not going into these communities or into these countries wanting to do good. What I hear from you is that you take time to listen to people's dreams, to listen to their vision of what they want for themselves and for their families. Can you just elaborate a little bit more about how you're working now?
Yes. The consequences of my negative experiences in Africa made me think of another way of working. And the other way of working is that you never, ever, ever show up uninvited anywhere. You wait to be invited, and when you are invited, you arrive, you sit with the elders, and you win the trust, and you set up a responsive person in the community. It's a local. You train the person to become an enterprise facilitator, and the enterprise facilitator never initiates any projects, never motivates anybody, responds to self-motivated, passionate people who have an idea of how to feed themselves, how to feed their families. And what you then do, you become engaged with this individual one-on-one for as long as it takes, and you help transform these dozens, these hundreds of individual ideas in a community into ways for all those people to transform their own lives. And the beauty of our projects in Africa now is that we have an enterprise facilitator who in the first 24 months has been approached by 2,000 local people. Out of those 2,000 local people, he has helped to start 187 businesses, employ 750 people, and without any money whatsoever, because we use a very, very strong methodology on regarding entrepreneurial development.
Now, what I remember from the conversation we had, because I had told you about some of my projects and how I was trying to initiate a microloan program, which is very limiting in a sense, because I'm constantly having to try and raise the money that I can give out as microloans and then getting the money back, and it gets very, very complicated. Your model, your system is so unique in the sense that it can be done without money. Can you elaborate how you came up with this idea and how it all works?
Okay. Let's give you an example. Our example in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, in the DRC, we have 3 enterprise facilitators in 3 different communities. But everything started with 1 enterprise facilitator. His first enterprise facilitator was is paid in local currency. So in terms of for Western standards is a very, very, very small amount of money, but for Congolese salary is a very high salary. We're talking about $300 American a month for the salary of the facilitator. This money has been raised by 2 or 3 different foundations and sources, so it's $5,000 a year for the salary of the facilitator. The facilitator is a local, was selected in the village, was trained by us, and the enterprise facilitator then is the only full-time paid operator in that community. He is surrounded by a group of volunteers, and they all sworn to secrecy. They are not going to reveal the client business idea. And the enterprise facilitator is introduced in the community by the volunteers, so the enterprise facilitator does not need to have brochures or advertising it's all done through the volunteers and word of mouth. Okay, so
word of mouth. So confidentiality is a crucial part of this
equation. Element, because entrepreneurs never come to public meetings.
Yes.
And entrepreneurs never tell during a public meeting what they want to do with their own money, because they're scared that people will steal their idea. So the enterprise facilitator tells everybody that what they tell him is confidential, or her is confidential. And then the enterprise facilitator is introduced to the community, and when he's introduced to the community, then he or she has no office, walks to the house of people, walks to the place where these people are working, and say, why did you call me? Well, did I call you because my auntie is on your volunteer panel. She told me that you help people to start businesses, and I have this farm, and I have chicken, but I need to make more money. The chicken that I'm selling now, I'm making very, so the facilitator says, okay, tell me the story. Well, the story is that I have a farm, I'm breeding chicken, but I cannot leave the farm and go and sell the chicken, because if I leave the farm, people will steal my chicken. Also, there are no banks here, so the money is under the mattress, and if I leave the farm, somebody's going to rob me. So I can only sell the chicken when people come and get it. But I am away from the town, from the market, and so I have a limited market. So the enterprise facilitator does a little drawing, and the drawing is a smiling face of the woman at the top, and then 3 boxes. And one of the boxes is products, one of the boxes is marketing, one of the boxes is financial management, and the facilitator says to the client, what can you do? What do you love to do? And she says,
so you're really helping people to zone into what they are good at doing, their little specialty area, because not everybody can sell, not everybody can produce the product, not everybody can market.
That's the secret. The secret is then we say to people, who is doing your marketing? And the woman said, I don't have anybody doing my marketing. What do you mean? Well, what you mean is that why don't you have somebody taking 12 chicken every day on a bicycle to the Central Farmers Market
to sell?
And she says, because I don't have the money to pay the person. And the facilitator said, this is a true story. The facilitator said to her, do you have somebody that you trust who has a bicycle, who can take 12 live chicken to the Central Farmers Market every day? If they don't sell, they will bring them back alive, so you're not going to lose the chicken. And do you know somebody that you trust with your chicken that you can pay 20% of the cost of it?
Yes.
And the person said, I never knew that you could do that. I never knew that you could. And he said, well, that's called commission sales.
Yes.
I never knew that. And she said, yes, my nephew can do that. He has a bicycle, he's young, he's looking for money, and he would love to go to the farmer's market with 12 chicken every day, sell it, and then I give you some money. And he said, okay, now
you actually show people how to look at the existing resources around them in order to solve these problems. I just want us to go back to your book.
Yes.
Who should read your book? Who is this book geared at?
Anybody who wants to before going to Africa or Latin America, before wanting to do anything good, read my book. Because once you read my book, you will change completely your approach. Because once you read my book, you understand that the people that you are going to meet in Africa are smarter than you. They are maybe even as smart as you, maybe they're even smarter than you. They've been there, they know the conditions, they know the culture, they know the trading ways. The only thing they need is somebody who is there that they can trust, they can talk to, and you could have a completely phenomenal experience in Africa if instead of arriving in Africa with the idea and the project, you would arrive with this understanding that first you have to make friends.
Yes.
You have to understand the language. You have to become trusted. And once you are trusted and you don't talk all the time, you are going to have the time and the ability to respond to local people who you have befriended. Now they will tell you what their dreams are. And now you become a facilitator instead of an obnoxious white person yet again arriving in Africa to tell the African people what.
All right, so where can people buy this book, Ernesto? Where can people buy the book? I know that it's on Amazon. I also want people to know your website.
Even Amazon, so many online booksellers, they have it. I discovered that even Walmart books was selling my... Look, it's online, it's easy to find, it's been in print since 1995, it's never gone out of print, it's been adopted by a very large numbers of universities around the world, a university that are teaching community development. Because ultimately my book has to do with how do you truly support local economic development, one passionate person at a time. Because if you look at the reality is that in every community there are examples of successful entrepreneurs. And when you ask them how they started, they will tell you that nobody believed them, that people laughed at them, they started with no money, and yet they made it. So why don't we set up a system where we multiply the chances for people to come and talk to us?
And support them.
And support them.
It's all about getting that support.
And you get them to form little teams. Remember, nobody ever has been born that can make it, sell it, and look after the money. We all have businesses. We all have characters that get us to prefer certain things. And so why don't we do beautifully what we love, but we surround ourselves with people who can do what we hate. Let's form a team. You see, Steve Jobs would have never set up Apples without Bosniak. Bill Gates would have never set up Microsoft without Alan. Henry Ford would have never set up the Ford factory without his financial manager, that was James Cousins. And if you read the books of successful entrepreneurs, you always find out that there are more than one person necessary to start and run a successful business. So let's take this knowledge in Blue Jeans at the grassroots in Africa, in the villages in Africa. Let's take this methodology into the villages of Latin America. Let's take this message to the kids in Italy, in southern Italy now. They are unemployed, they have ideas for businesses, and they are totally lost.
They're lost. Now, you know that I'm going to Rome on the 26th of March to launch my book in Rome. I would like to finish this interview with you saying something in Italian to the audience, because I would love to play this video during the book launch as well, just to inspire those Italian people who are struggling at the moment, who have brilliant ideas. Can you just finish off this interview with some words?
Vorrei ringraziare gli amici italiani, gli amici di Getrude per questa occasione eccezionale. Getrude è una di queste forze di natura, è una donna con delle capacità incredibili e spero che voi veramente abbiate la possibilità di conoscere Getrude e capire che tipo di persona lei sia. Dal punto di vista del nostro lavoro, abbiamo adesso dei colleghi italiani interessatissimi al nostro discorso della facilitazione delle imprese e molto presto noi avremo un ufficio in Italia e se siete interessati mettetevi in contatto con noi. Il nostro contatto è ernesto@sirolli.com. Mettetevi in contatto e speriamo di incontrarci di persona a Roma. La mia prima laurea è alla Sapienza, quindi la mia laurea è in scienze politiche alla Sapienza, il mio il mio dottorato invece fu fatto sia in Africa che in Australia. Vi ringrazio, siete stati molto gentili ad ascoltare. Arrivederci. That's it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
I said something nice about you, Getrude.
Thank you. And I really want to thank Dr. Federico Conforto for giving me this opportunity to be the host for the Italian Club. I'll be doing several of these interviews, and Ernesto, if you know any other authors, any Italian authors in specific I can interview, I would really appreciate you sending me those referrals so that I can find a way to really grow the following online, the Italian Book Club.
I have somebody of Italian background ready for you.